Decker. We have all the board members have the packets of information, your applicant with us, and we reviewed those as well as reviewed the properties. So, it's kind of a speaking time, but if you have something to share, hopefully you've sent it to Mr. Decker and he can do a share screen for us at that time. Or if you do have the ability to do the share screen, you have it at your disposal, please do that. Just announce that you're doing that. So the board members are ready to review that on their computers, laptops, or however they're viewing this. After the applicant's presentation, anyone who's interested in that matter, I will open up the floor to have them speak by way of being on video if they're already on, or by calling in. Please make sure you let Mr. Decker know. I will be looking to see if anyone has raised their hand as well on the participant page, but I will give plenty of time to make sure anyone who's interested can speak. I will invite those in favor first, and then if there's anyone or no one after they speak, I will invite anyone who opposes it to also speak and address. After that, I will allow the applicant or his or her agent an opportunity to address those comments in opposition. We have received some emails on some of the items, both in favor and against, and I'll do my best to point that out. But if it's something that is in opposition, I would ask the applicant or his or her agent to wait until your rebuttal time frame to address it. I think it would be a little more efficient, because if we have an email in opposition and then someone also speaks, I think it would probably be more efficient for all of us if you address both of the comments at the same time. The meeting is being taped, and that's required by our state law to create a record. We need to make sure the record is clear. Only one person can speak at a time. It's difficult, especially in this forum, for people to be talking over each other, for us to be able to record it properly. So please be patient. I will give everyone an opportunity. I'll give plenty of time to make sure everyone gets to speak that wants to be heard. Whoever does speak, we need to make sure that we know who you are. So please give us your name before you begin speaking and your address. I will reserve my right as chairman to make sure that you are on the point. If you're too far off the point, I will restrict your comments. Applicants and interested people can remain on this site to review or to hear our discussions. After the public hearing, we'll probably take a quick little break, and then we will reconvene our executive session where we'll be discussing each matter that goes forward today, and we will be voting on each matter that goes forward today. At that time, you will need 4 members of the Zoning Board of Appeals to vote in favor of your application for it to be approved. A simple majority is not sufficient. You need a supermajority for your application to be granted. If an application for a waiver is granted, it will not be valid until it is recorded on the land records. Therefore, you must bring a check or send a check in the amount of $60 made out to the town of Fairfield and bring it to the zoning office Wednesday or later following the meeting. That will allow for proper recording of the notice. Any waiver involving construction, whether it's for a new dwelling, addition, or alteration, will require an as-built before the issuance of a certificate of zoning compliance and a certificate of occupancy. If you cannot stay when we are going to be reconvening into the working session, you can always call the zoning office tomorrow to find out what happened on your particular matter. So we are now ready for our first matter. And do we have Brian or Sharon?
Sharon is having some technical difficulties. I asked her to call in, waiting to hear her if she calls in. Okay. She has the packets, obviously, so she'll be able to follow along, just not online. 203-767-9825. Thanks. All right. Scratch that. You hear me, Kevin?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Sharon is, looks like she might be out for the count. She's got phone issues as well.
Okay.
Let me try Brian again. I also sent Brian an email.
Matt, did you ask Sharon if she could drop somewhere and sit either in another computer somewhere, like at town hall?
Brian is on his way, and will be on in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, so Sharon did not get the instructions again, so I'm going to resend them to her.
Once Brian joins, Matt,
Yes.
I will have Brian sit in for the continued, but we'll have to hold on Millard Street until we have Sharon, Attorney Fallon. Attorney Fallon.
I might be able to get face on at that time.
Mr. Chairman, I'm on.
What we're going to have to do until we have, unless you want to go forward with 4, Attorney Fallon, we're going to have to wait until we have a complete 5 because Jane has to recuse herself from that matter. And so we're just going to have to,
Hi, this is
you're going to have to
Sharon.
be in a holding pattern until we have a full
I think
contingent.
I just heard, Mr. Chairman, I think I just heard Sharon get on.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I'm having phone line issues. My line keeps dropping out, so we'll see if this will work. Okay.
Okay. So you got my
Just make
email,
sure you
Sharon?
email both Matt
No, I
and
didn't get your email, Matt. It did not come through.
All right, I'm going to send it again.
Sharon.
Okay.
Sharon.
Yes.
If you lose contact, you have to email both Matt and myself. Okay? 'Cause I won't know.
Okay. I think you've got 5. Kevin?
We have 5 to start.
Move forward with the continued item.
We need an alternate for Jane for your matter, Mr. Fallon,
Yep.
Attorney Fallon.
Brian's going to.
And with that, just so I'm clear,
on by the time we get done with your continued item.
Guys, I can barely hear anybody. Matt, can you try to re-email me, please?
I did.
What email are you using?
I am using strelzer1@aol.com.
I've told you guys for 3 years, I don't have that account anymore. It's Sharon at either my full name at Gmail or Sharon at travelmadespecial.com. AOL account was dissolved a long time ago.
That's the only one I've got on file for you. All right.
I know Kevin has been emailing me on my business email, but you can, and I gave it to Josephine a long time ago when I started.
All right. So again, what is it?
That's the
Sharon
Send
at
it to
travel what?
travelmadespecial.com.
Okay. It's on its way.
That's the one I've been getting all correspondence from the ZBA on, and that's why I
Okay.
haven't seen your emails.
All right. I just sent it. Sorry.
Sharon,
Got
can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right,
Can you hear me? Because I've had people tell me they couldn't hear me today.
Yep, I can hear you. If you have a headphone set, they'll probably be the safest and easiest way.
I don't have a headset. And I'm not sure if I can get into this. I'm going to try.
Well, even if you've got the packet, correct, Sharon?
I have the packet.
Okay, great. So do you have last month's packet?
I think so, yes.
Is that number 8 from last month, which is Sterling Street, is continued first today?
Okay,
All right?
okay.
I'm going to start with the call. All right, Sharon, make sure you advise us if you can't, so we can make sure that we have a full contingent.
All right. So the problem I'm having is that I will be talking and other people can't hear me. And I've actually had to email the CEO of Frontier yesterday to talk to them about this. It's gotten so bad. So we'll see. And when it rains, it said it's worse. So, and it's been escalated. The calls have been dropping nonstop for the last week. So let's see what happens. I just don't know when the call drops. That's the problem.
Well, you don't hear anything.
All right, let's give it a go. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but you won't. I will be talking, and I won't realize that others can't hear me. But anyway, let's go on. Let's see if we can get through this.
Okay. Continued docket. We're going to be taking these two, 8A and 8B together. 8A, 231 Sterling Street, Lot A, map 77, parcel 13. Petition of SSM Builders LLC for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.1, to reduce the minimum required square from 60 feet, proposing 50 feet, and section 5.2.1 to reduce the minimum required street frontage from 60 feet, proposing 50 feet. Permission to establish a single-family building on premises B zone. 8B, 231 Sterling Street, Lot B, map 77, parcel 13. Petition of SSM Builders LLC for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.1, to reduce the minimum required square from 60 feet, proposing 50 feet, and section 5.2.1 to reduce the minimum required street frontage from 60 feet, proposing 50 feet. Permission to establish a single-family building lot premises B zone.
Ready for me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Attorney Gummer.
Okay, I'm Kevin Gumper. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Holohan, Gumper, and Dowling, and I'm here today. Joining this meeting today on behalf of the applicant SSM Builders LLC. The sole member of that LLC is Scott Molnar, M-O-L-N-A-R, who is an experienced builder and has built between 30 and 40 houses in Fairfield over the past 20 years. This is a fairly straightforward application, best understood if the members can have that reference to the map that I sent, not the survey, but the map of Soundview Annex, which is Town Map 550 and was drawn up in 1912. That map, if you are looking at it, shows what Sterling Street referred to as Sterling Avenue. It shows it as running between Black Rock Avenue on the right, which is actually Knapp's Highway now, and Highway on the left, which is now Old Stratford Road. You can see that there are 31 lots on that map. 27 of them are 50 feet wide by 120 feet deep. So they all meet the 6,000 square foot minimum requirement for a B zone lot. However, none of those 27 lots meet the minimum 50-foot wide requirement for the minimum 60-foot wide requirement for a lot in the B zone. Mr. Molnar is the owner, now the owner of what is shown on that map as Lot 18 and Lot 19 together. That is basically a double lot. It's been a double lot since 1952. There's only one other double lot on the street. That's, I think, lots 23 and 24, but I might be off by a number. And that is now a 2-unit condo. The rest of the houses on this street that face Sterling Street in between Knapp's Highway and Old Stratfield Road are all single-family houses, all on 50 by 120-foot lots. What Mr. Molnar wants to do is build 2 single-family houses, each one on a 50-foot by 120-foot lot. So he just wants to revert to the original layout of Sterling Street and build two houses which will fit in with the neighborhood. He has a hardship in that there's no way he can build a single-family house on both of these lots that'll fit in with the neighborhood under the current regulations. He would have to build only one house, and if he were to do that, he would probably build a duplex on this lot, on these two lots, because it has well in excess of the minimum size required for a two-family house. So it's really a question of whether here, for the board's consideration, a large two-family house on the double lot would be more in keeping with the character of the neighborhood than two single-family houses on two of smaller lots. And that's why we're asking for the variances.
Attorney Gumper, I have to interrupt you for a second. Can you hold 1 second, please?
I sure can.
Two things that I want to mention. Thank you. Would everyone except myself, Matt, Attorney Gumper, mute? Even other board members for now, because every time someone's moving paperwork, we're hearing whistling and scratching and chairs moving. So we just want to try to cut down on the background noise. So other than the applicant speaking, me trying to chair this meeting, also on the second thing, I want to make sure that Ms. Strelzer Sharon can get in. She started to get in, but the call dropped, and I want to make sure she hears the entire presentation by Attorney Gumper as well. Sharon, I see that you're not muted, at least on the screen. Can you hear me at all?
Kevin, I sent her an email to call back in.
Brian, unmute, please.
Yes, sir.
Were you here for this from the beginning for Mr. Gumper?
I have been listening from the beginning of his testimony, yes.
All right, great. I want you to sit right now while we're trying to get Sharon in. Matt, can you let her know we're going to have Brian, but we still need her to continue to try for our next matter, okay? All right, Attorney Gumper, you can proceed. We're going to be having Brian Avalone sitting for Sharon Strelzer on this particular matter. He's been on since the beginning and has the packet already.
Just one point of clarification, Mr. Chairman. Does that put 5 people on this matter?
Yes, it does.
Great. Okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Of course.
We had some, we're aware of some concerns by the neighbors from basically conversations and emails. This is not it's difficult to do the usual. It was difficult for Mr. Molnar to do the usual go around and talk to your neighbors and explain. Mr. Molnar's a big man, and he thinks it would be right. He seemed to find, or the neighbors seemed to find it rather intimidating for this big man to come into their room, into their house wearing a mask. So I did personally write to all the neighbors. I've communicated with a couple of them via email. I know that one of the neighbors has written in, I believe he's written in to the board, Mr. Sikanolfi, who is to the right of us, closer to Knapp's Highway. He's the adjoining owner, and he does not oppose. I know that Mr. Campbell, who is on Edison Avenue to the rear of us, does not oppose. I'm fairly certain that the person right next door, Mr. Benjamin, is opposed, and I'm not sure whether one of the families across the street is opposed. Basically, I think those that oppose this matter misunderstand the application. which is a bit confusing, which is a bit understandable. The application is asking for the lot size to be narrowed from 50 feet to 60 feet. So I think at least one of the neighbors assumed that that meant that the houses would be closer to the lot line than otherwise would be permitted. And that is not the case at all. If these houses are built, if these waivers are granted, the two houses will conform with the sideline requirements of a minimum of 20 feet with a minimum of 5 feet on one side. I think that one of the neighbors seems to think that if this is not granted, there will continue to be a one-family house on these two lots, and just one family house on these two lots, and that is certainly, almost certainly not going to happen. There will be, if need be, there'll be either a duplex or the nuclear option, which we don't want to get into, of affordable housing, which we much prefer to build the two single-family houses here. And I think one of the neighbors was concerned that, well, I don't think the neighbors fully appreciate just how big a two-family house could be here on this lot. I mean, that's, you have a 6,000 square foot house there, which be considerably larger than anything that's on the street now, except for the two-unit condo, which is a few doors away. Mr. Molnar's position is that he would prefer to have the two single-family houses because, number one, they would fit, number one, first of all, most of all, they'll fit in with the neighborhood, which makes them, number one, better for the neighborhood, but more important to him, easier to sell as well. So I think that this is a simple situation where you've seen this type of application quite a number of times in this area of town where the old lots laid out pre-zoning are no longer comply or they're non-conforming, but all the other lots on the street are also non-conforming. So what we're asking for is actually to allow us to build on a non-conforming lot to build a house that conforms with the neighborhood. Opposite of most zoning, which is where generally zoning tries to keep similar houses together. And this is one case where the zoning law actually seems to prohibit the similar house from going in. So we're asking similar houses from going in. So we're asking for the waivers to allow the two single-family houses, which will be here and which should fit in with the neighborhood. There's no other variances being requested. There's no request to put anything closer to any lot line or anything, or the street line, and no request for to allow us to build an oversized house. It's just a house that will comply with the B-zone regulations on a lot which has the required size, but not the required square or frontage. Thank you.
You're finished, correct, Mr. Gumper?
What's that?
You're finished the presentation?
Sure, wasn't that? Yes, it was. I am finished for now.
Let's open it up for some questions for Attorney Gumper from the board. Jane, thank you for raising hand so I could see it. It's hard to do both.
When the property was recently purchased, there was an existing two-family house on it, right?
No, that's not correct. There was an existing one-family house in poor condition.
Okay.
That actually straddled the property line between what was 18 and what was 19, between these two lots.
So, okay.
That house has been demolished. It was in very poor condition.
Okay. So this application is only for the lot, not for any house that's going to go on it, correct?
Correct. There would be, each application is for one lot in which a fully conforming house would be built. Yes.
Okay, so that's.
Is that clear? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so my question is, so hypothetically, if this is approved, then are you saying that any house that's built will conform to the zone and you will not be asking for any other variances in the future?
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So is that a condition of this application?
You can make that my recollection of the rules on this is that you can't put a condition that prohibits yourself from doing something in the future. You being the ZBA, you as this ZBA this year can't tell the ZBA next year they can't give a waiver here. But there is absolutely no request for a variance for anything other than the square and the frontage. So there's no request asked for. And yes,
I'm only bringing it up because you said that there was not going to be anything. So I'm asking you, is that your condition?
Correct. No, I mean, that is just not what we're asking for, like anyone else building anything on a lot. I don't want to get an argument, and I also want to make sure that you're clear as to what we're saying. We just want the lot size, the lot frontage to be reduced. We definitely will build a house that conforms with the setbacks, the size, the mass, etc. So there is no request for variance. If you wish to put a condition on, you go right ahead. We don't mind.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions. I have no more questions. Thank you.
Any other questions? Terry? You either got to unmute or just shake your head.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Katie?
Hi, and can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Just one question, just to clarify, we receive any document, any letters from any of the neighbors saying they're for or against, or we're just getting the verbal, we think this is where people stand?
We did receive a letter in opposition by Mr. Benjamin.
Have that.
Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Brian, do you have any questions?
No.
No questions. Okay. All right. Now, is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Matt, are you aware of anyone?
No, I've not seen anybody up.
I'm scrolling as well on the participant list. I don't see anyone. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition? And please let us know. But I will state that we did receive, the board did receive a letter from a Mr. Benjamin, who is a neighbor to one side of this property. He was opposed to this. He's, I think at 217. And he was in opposition to changing the required size and square for this lot. And any other opposition that wish to speak? Are you aware of any other opposition?
No, I just heard somebody say something though.
Sorry, that was me. I'm sorry. This is Emmeline. I'm monitoring the conference call.
Yep.
If there are several people on the call, so if anyone would like to speak to this matter, I'm just going to remind you, you're going to have to unmute yourself. I have everybody muted.
Is there anyone that on call in that wishes to speak to the 231 Sterling Street Lot A and Lot B matters? Okay. Attorney Gumper, I did see, and I'd like you to address this. You kind of hit on Mr. Benjamin's response in your application, but I'd like you to hit on the fact that his email was saying that there was some, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but some pressure brought by Mr. Molnar or through you to get them to agree, saying that there was a threat of affordable housing in this area. I'd like you to address that for me, please.
I have not seen Mr. Benjamin's email. I did write a lengthy letter to Mr. Benjamin and the neighbors on all sides, explaining to them what it was that we wanted to do and explaining what the alternatives would be if this were not granted, if there were not two single-family houses here. And I explained to them that there could be a large duplex, which could be, and this is under the zoning regulations, as close as 5 feet to Mr. Benjamin's property. And I also said that I did mention to them that another alternative, which we did not wish to pursue, would be the use of this property for affordable housing. And I pointed out to them that there are effectively no zoning regulations with respect to affordable housing. I was very careful. I said nothing was there as a threat. I did not threaten them with anything. And I simply told them the facts.
Okay. Does anyone have any follow-up questions on that from the board? Yes, Jane.
I'm sorry. I think I need, not specifically about the affordable housing, but back to what I was asking earlier, a condition that we are not imposing, but that Attorney Gumper offered, that the houses that will be built there will not require variances. I'm not sure if, I know we can't oppose a condition, but this sounds like the applicant is offering a condition. Am I incorrect in that?
Attorney Gumper, are you offering that to be a condition, that you're not seeking any variances for two houses, assuming that it's granted?
Sure, we'll agree to that. Yeah, yes, sure.
So that's a voluntary offer of that condition on this application then.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
All right. Anything further from the board? Okay. We're going to take the next matter, but before we start that, Sharon, I don't see a video, but I see a headset. Can you hear us?
Hear me?
Now I see that I had to move my own face because I was blocking part of yours. So now I can see you don't have this. I can hear you loud and clear. Matt, can you hear her?
I can, yeah, I just unmuted her.
Excellent. Okay. So on this one, Jane is recusing herself. And Brian, you're sitting on this one. We're taking this out of order because we have competing Zoom meetings for the applicant in a different town. So of course Fairfield gets to go first, as it should be. I shouldn't have said that, but I did. Number 9, 47 Millard Street, map 182, parcel 56. Petition of Jacqueline and Christopher Woods for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the street line setback from 20 feet, currently 19.9 feet, proposing 19.9 feet, and to reduce the sum of two sideline setbacks from 20 feet, currently 18.5 feet, proposing 18.5 feet. Permission to construct a second floor addition with attic above. This is B zone. Attorney Fallon, that's number 9 for our regular
Thank you,
docket.
Mr. Chairman. Can everyone hear me and maybe even see me? But most importantly, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Well, I thank everybody for your great service during these difficult times. I think I can confirm based upon where I do have 5 members. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
You have
Well, again, I thank you very much.
Sharon Strausser, Terry Keegan, Katie O'Grady, and myself.
Wonderful. Well, again, it's good to see you all again virtually. I hope we'll see you again soon in person. I'm pleased to be representing Jackie and Chris Woods. They are in the meeting room here with us today, as is our builder, Oscar Leal. And the property is located at 47 Millard Street. The variances have been referenced by the chairman in the call and are set forth in our Schedule A. The essence of what we want to do here very simply is to construct a second-story addition to the existing single-family residence that the Woods reside in. By way of background, Jackie and Chris have been here in their home for 6 years. They absolutely love the neighborhood. Their children can walk to school. They really desire very, very much to remain in this house. They love the neighborhood, as I said. The problem is the house currently only has 2 bedrooms, and the Woods are in desperate need of more space. They have 2 children. Wesley is 6 years old, and Stella is 4. I also mentioned in my narrative they have an 8-year-old Australian Shepherd. My dad was a veterinarian. Those are very big dogs. And they simply lack bedrooms, and that's especially important as the children grow older, and they're very much in need of their own bedrooms. So after carefully looking at their options and based upon their desire to remain here in their neighborhood, they've decided, subject to your review and approval, to address their needs for more space through the construction of a second-story addition to their home, as shown on the plans that we submitted with the application. The house, as you know, is presently a legally protected pre-existing non-conforming structure with regard to the street setback. And the Woods proposal, as I will emphasize throughout, will not increase the footprint of the house or in any way intensify that nonconformity. Oscar Leal of Beachwalk Homes, I think, has done a wonderful job of designing a very pleasing second-story addition. It's very attractive. It's going to harmonize with the character of the neighborhood, and I believe will be an enhancement to the neighborhood. You should have some documentation I submitted a week or so ago to Matt. One is a petition from the neighborhood. Chris and Jackie went door to door. They had the plans with them. They showed the plans to their neighbors, and they all agreed and signed the petition favoring this request. We also got an email, or a letter, I should say, from Mr. Mark Mazzano, who's the managing member of an adjacent property. He, too, was in favor of the application. After this addition is constructed, we're still going to remain compliant with the coverage requirements of the B zone. 28.6% is what we will have, and we will also be compliant with the FAR requirements of the zone. There, the FAR requirements are 50%, and in this case, we will be at 39.8%. The variances, as we said, the first is section 5.2.4 to technically reduce the street setback, which is currently non-conforming at 19.9 feet, but will remain so. And again, it's a technical variance. It's required because we're extending the house by way of a second-story addition vertically, but there will be no increase in the actual physical footprint of the house or the nonconformity. Similarly, with the side yards, we're requesting a variance of section 5.2.4 to reduce some of the setback requirements from 20 feet to 18.5 feet. But again, we're going to build right on the existing foundation. That is the existing dimensions of the existing house, and will be no way encroaching further or expanding the footprint of the house. So what does all this mean from a legal perspective? I cite in the material I submitted section 8-6A3. And as you, ladies and gentlemen, know, you have to make 2 findings. One, that what we're proposing won't substantially affect the comprehensive zoning plan. And number 2, there is element of legal hardship as our law has defined it. With regard to the first aspect of that test, as you also know, in the Egan case, among others, the court held that if the use to be made of the property after a variance is granted is a permitted use in the zone, that satisfies that test. Obviously, we're going to continue to maintain this house as a single-family residence. And we're going to result in a dwelling that remains conforming with coverage and FAR requirements, so we're not adding massive bulk to the house at all. And as I said before, I think the addition is very well done, will be very well done, is a very aesthetically attractive one that's going to have a positive impact in the neighborhood, and our neighbors do agree. With regard to the hardship requirement, I cite the cases in my material that our Connecticut courts have consistently recognized that the historic location of a pre-existing non-conforming structure on a lot creates a proper basis for a finding of hardship. That's exactly what we have here. The fact that the house is currently non-conforming to the street setback occasions the need for the variance, even though we're not expanding that, but we are vertically going up, because there are cases that say when you make such a vertical expansion of a non-conforming building, you should get a variance. There are other towns that don't necessarily do that, but I think the better law is that you should, and that's why we are here. But the big thing is that the construction will not result in any actual further encroachment either into the existing street or the side yard setbacks, but is simply necessary technically because of the second story vertical expansion. So subject to answer any questions you might have. In summary, we seek approval of what I think are very technical variances in order to obtain approval for this second-story addition. It's extremely important to the Woods and their desire to maintain their Millard Street residents. They love that neighborhood, but they just have to have more space, and they want to stay where they are. Most importantly, from your standpoint, I think the application meets the technical requirements of Section 8-683 in that, one, it's not going to substantially affect in any adverse way the comprehensive zoning plan, and based upon the location of the existing house and the case law that I cited before, there is a proper basis and a finding of hardship in this particular situation. So we appreciate your great efforts under these unique and trying circumstances that we're all living with. We hope you'll favorably address this application so Jackie and Chris and their children and their dog can remain in the house that they really love and the neighborhood they really love. And we thank you for your attention. Answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Attorney Fallon. Does the board have any questions for Attorney Fallon? I know the applicants are also available, as is the architect. Any questions? Katie? Terry?
No, I'm good.
Brian?
I'm good, thank you.
Sharon, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. No questions. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor? Please raise your hand over on the participant side if you know how to do that, or somehow let us know. Wave your hand on the screen, or let's let the call in so we can know. Unmute yourself. Matt, are you aware of any?
Sorry, I was on mute. I don't see anybody.
Okay. No one in favor. Is there anyone in opposition? Please let us know. Matt, I don't see anything on the participant side. Is there?
I don't see anything either.
All right. No opposition. Thank you, Attorney Fallon. The hearing on this matter is now closed.
Thank you all very much.
Next item that we have on general docket, we'll pick up from the beginning. That's number 1, 26 Figler Avenue. Brian, you're back out on this one. Jane, you're back in. 26 Figler Avenue, map 126, parcel 264A. Petition of Christian and Sarah Zelinsky for variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the street line setback from 30 feet, currently 22 feet, proposing 22 feet. Permission to construct an addition and raise the roof line, premises A zone. We have the.
Emmeline, can you hear me?
Yes, Chris and
Yes, I
Sarah
can
are
hear you.
here.
Oh, there. Okay. All right.
Yeah, Emmeline, this is Mr. Benjamin. I wanted to talk to the attorney, to raise questions and stuff, and I was never given that chance.
Hold on.
For which item? I'm sorry.
For the one that was carried over, 231 Sterling Street. I was never taken off of mute.
You have to push.
I think you should have had the opportunity to unmute yourself.
No, I wasn't. I was never given that opportunity. I wasn't muted. My phone wasn't muted. I was muted. I tried going back and forth on my mute and unmute, and there wasn't a difference. My phone was not muted from me.
Okay. I apologize. That's not the way that it's worked in the past. People, I mute people, but then people are able to unmute themselves once they just kind of make that modification on their phone line. Chair, I don't know what you want to do in this circumstance. I believe this gentleman is referring to the first item that you guys heard before.
Correct.
Okay, what's the gentleman's name?
It's Mr. Benjamin, Mr. Chairman.
Benjamin? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Benjamin, what we did is that I did refer to your email in the comments.
No, I've been listening, Mr. Chairman. I've been listening, but the thing is, my neighbors were not mentioned. My neighbors that are across the street from me,
You need to speak up, sir.
they all sent in. My neighbors that live across the street, we've all been in contact with each other. At the last session, my neighbor's brother was in representing her, and all emails were sent in negatively as far as this proposition was concerned. But when it was raised this afternoon, no mention except for myself being negative was approached. That plus the fact, the attorney, he gave us the plans for the two single-family homes on that plot. I don't understand why he didn't give them to you guys.
I'm in the middle of a hearing, but to answer that, he's not looking for variances of 2 single-family homes. So he's looking as to the size of the lot and the street frontage. Okay, well, this is what I'm going to do since there was a
Right, but
technical
he-
difficulty. I think I have to do this. Matt, I need you to get hold of Mr. Gumper, Attorney Gumper.
Okay. Get him back on?
Get him back on. We're going to take the Dzinskis now. Where are they? Are they still here? I see a Sarah on the thing.
Yes.
Please.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to,
Just unmuted yourself.
all right, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go forward with the Dzinskis now. And once Attorney Gumper is back on the line, I will allow those people to speak in opposition and let Attorney Gumper address it. Okay?
All right, I'll get Attorney Gumper then.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Sir, did you hear me? I'm going to afford you an opportunity to speak. But I'm in the middle of another hearing at the moment. You understand that? Matt, can you just make sure that that gentleman knows? I'm going to give him an opportunity to speak, but I'm going to take the Dzinski's matter right now, Figler Avenue. We're going to complete that, and then we will open that back up to when his Attorney Gumper is available. Okay. Christian, is it?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Christian Zielinski. My wife, Sarah Zielinski, is also here. We are the owners at 26 Figler Avenue. We are claiming a unique, unusual hardship. We're seeking a variance for our home at 26 Figler Ave. The original house built in the 1930s faced Jennings Road, which had at that time both a garage and a front door that faced Jennings Road. Later on, when lots were subdivided, they added Figler Avenue in, which created our address and our house facing now Figler Avenue. What we are asking, or what we are looking to do, is to keep with the architectural style of the original Cape, create that on what is our front of our house now, and create an entranceway in the front of our home. Currently, if you park in our driveway to get to our current front door, you would walk across the entire front yard, take a left, walk along Jennings, the side of Jennings Road, side of the house, and then get to our front door. We're looking to construct a gable to keep that same architecture and have an inviting entryway. Similar to other homes in the neighborhood, I believe we're the only house on Figler Avenue that doesn't have a front entranceway facing Figler Avenue. The goal is to keep the ridge line the same height as the original house ridge line, match overhangs into existing overhangs. There is no added square footage, no added foundation to the house itself. So we're trying to keep the impact very low, but give it a lot more inviting entranceway and character to the neighborhood. That's really all I have. Thank you for consideration. Any questions you have, happy to answer any.
All right. Thank you, sir. Does the board have any questions for Mr. or Mrs. Zahunsky? Jane shakes her head no. Sharon? And Terry?
I'm good.
Okay. Is there anyone out there that wishes to speak in favor of this 26 Figler Avenue? I'm scrolling. I don't see anything on the participant list. Okay. Not aware, nothing is popping up. Anyone wish to speak in opposition to this matter? I don't see anyone in opposition. Let's wait 1 second to see if Matt comes back to see if there's anyone. Emmeline, are you aware of anyone in opposition on this particular matter? Not hearing anything. 26 Figler Avenue hearing is now closed. We're still going to have to wait for Attorney Gumper. Oh, Attorney Gumper's back.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Attorney Gumper, are you there? Attorney Gumper, can you hear me?
Be back on, he's right there.
Where's Brian?
Brian, where'd Brian go to? He's back on, right?
Thank you, Brian.
No problem.
Okay, we have Katie, Terry, Brian, Sharon, and myself. Attorney Gumper.
You're a gem. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
We had an issue on from the call-in feature. There were some opponents. I did one of them. Since we had that issue technical side, they did finally were able to get themselves unmuted through Emmeline, and hopefully they're still there calling in and they can unmute themselves now. But there were a couple of people that wanted to speak in opposition that could not. I know one of them is Mr. Benjamin.
Hello?
Oh.
So I'm going to allow Mr. Benjamin to speak. Mr. Benjamin, are you there? Mr. Benjamin.
Hello.
I'm trying to speak.
I'm not Mr.
Everyone is unmuted, so everyone should be able to speak clearly into their phones.
Thank you, Emmeline. Mr. Benjamin. Is there anyone other than Mr. Benjamin, a neighbor, and this is on the Sterling Street application that wanted to speak in opposition?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Say your name. If someone's going to say, can you hear me, you have to say your name first.
Okay, this is Mr. Benjamin, 217 Sterling Street.
Okay, and Mr. Benjamin, your address is 217 Sterling, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
All right, now I'd like you to state what your opposition is, please.
Okay, my opposition is against giving the variance to Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
So, Mr. Gumper, in this letter that you sent me, you state that Mr. Molnar hasn't spoken to me. Mr. Molnar and I have spoken on many occasions. I guess you're not aware of that.
I need you to tell us what your opposition is.
My opposition is based on the plans that Mr. Molnar has shown me on what he intends on doing with the property if the variance is granted. And the size and the proximity to our house is concerned. That plus the fact, as I said, he has told me exactly what the buildings are going to look like, how they're going to look, and it does not go along with the theme of the neighborhood, like Mr. Gumper has stated. It really goes against everything that the neighborhood looks like, and that is one of the main reasons why I am against this variance.
Okay.
And I mean, as I said, we've spoken many times, but the thing that I don't appreciate is Mr. Molnar obviously has not told his own attorneys that he's spoken with me. He came up to my house, handed me a piece of paper, told me to sign it, and then explained it was for the variance so that we don't have to take this to the TPZ. And then he went to a neighbor of mine who he went to school with and stated to him that if the variance isn't passed, he's just going to put up affordable housing and laugh to him.
Okay. Is there a further objection other than
Mr.
those
Governor,
two items?
you gave me a plaque from the 1900s and also Mr. Molnar's intentions on the two single-family houses, correct?
Mr. Benjamin, you're speaking to the board. You're not speaking to Mr. Gumper. You're not speaking to Mr. Molnar. You're speaking to the board as to what your objection is. What I have is that you kind of felt intimidated because of a threat of affordable housing, and that what he's proposing don't fit with the neighborhood.
Yeah, he's been bullying me all along, and I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate his ideals. I don't appreciate his lack of basically anything. He's arrogant. He's treated us as if we are lower class, that we don't know what's going on, and obviously that's attorney is saying that we don't understand. We do understand. And my neighbors and myself have sent in emails to state that no, we are against this variance. I have a neighbor that is with a client right now. She is unable to put anything in, but she sent in, her and her husband sent in emails addressing their not wanting this variance done. No mention of that has been made. Just that Mike and the neighbor behind him are okay with it, and I'm against it.
I understand. Anything further?
No, sir, that's it. I appreciate your time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. I'm sorry you weren't able to get in earlier. Is there anyone else on the call-in list that has an opposition to this?
Hello?
Yes. What's your name?
I'm the neighbor on the other side, Mike Siganopi. I tried to speak before. I'm not in opposition. I am absolutely for the duplex. Excuse me, sir. The 2 single-family homes. I wanted to speak because I felt if I don't get this out and you vote the other way, it may be something I won't like. I think that what Matt Benjamin has been a neighbor of mine for years. Definitely respect what he has to say, but we differ on this opinion. I feel like a duplex. There's a duplex down the street that was mentioned, but that is more like the lawyer, Mr. Gumper, stated, is a more of a condominium. In fact, I know the gentleman who owns a landscaping business that takes care of it. If you have a situation like that, you may have a nicer place that's more well kept. If you have a duplex that is, as you say, on your own and you have to take care of it each side, it could wind up being a bit haphazard. I would much more prefer the 2 single-family homes. I think it would enhance our neighborhood or stick with it. Obviously, the homes are going to be bigger. That's the way it is today. But I feel like resale value, I've done a lot of work in construction, and I'm not really in favor of duplex. But I just wanted to state that. And again, my neighbors, I do respect them and feel that it is valid what they're saying. I'd rather be on the other side of it. Thanks for your time. I hope everyone's well.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anyone else on the call-in list that wanted to speak to Sterling Street? Okay. Hearing nothing further, and everything was open, so anyone could have spoken that wanted to. Attorney Gumper, could you respond briefly to Mr. Benjamin?
Sure. I can't speak to his interactions with Mr. Molnar. I know there were some, but I wasn't there. I don't know who said what to whom about what. So I just don't know. I know what I wrote to Mr. Siconolfi. I did not say anywhere in there that no one had spoken to him. I don't know quite what that point was about. I do know that it seemed to me from what I was hearing from Mr. Molnar was that, and again, I wasn't there, that Mr. Benjamin was concerned that these houses would be too close to him, or if there was a new house, it would be too close to him. And I think he doesn't understand that if a variance is not granted, a house can still be built quite close to him. And the setback requirements are the same for a single-family house as they are for a two-family house. So it could be fairly close to him. And I would think that he would be better off with the 2 one-family houses. I think they would fit in better in the neighborhood. And I think he just, he has had for many years an almost empty lot next to him, which I can understand why he'd like to preserve that and keep that going. But that's just not going to happen. There is, one way or another, these lots are going to be developed with something different than what's there now. And it seems that to fit in with the neighborhood, what Mr. Molnar wants is asking for would fit in the best. As far as the size of the houses are concerned, I'll say again, we're not asking for any kind of a variance for mass, size, square footage, or location on the lots. They'll comply completely with the B-zone requirements, just like anybody else on Sterling Street. If they were to sell their house and somewhere to buy it, they could construct a house that would comply with the B-zone requirements. And, they would be on 50 by 120-foot lots, which is exactly what Mr. Molnar wants to do here. And I think that answers, I think that's about all I could say about his comments. And I think, I personally thought that more of the neighbors were, or when we got into this, I thought that all of the neighbors were in accord with Mr. Siconolfi, that they thought this would be a good idea because the house that was there was not very nice. It had gotten deteriorated and was a bit of an eyesore, and that 2 single families would be an improvement for the neighborhood and would fit in. But of course, I was not there for those conversations with any of the neighbors. I only have had, it's only hearsay and a few emails that I've reviewed.
All right, is that it, Attorney Gupper?
That's it. Yes.
All right, that matter is closed. We'll move on to number 2. It is 200 May Street, map 79, parcel 533, petition of Brian and Beth Ann Privilek, sorry if I pronounced it improperly, for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the second street line setback on a corner lot from 17 feet, currently 14.6 feet, proposing 14.6 feet. Permission to construct the second floor over existing first floor premises B zone. And I thought I saw, there we are, I'm sorry, you're up at the top of my screen. All right, ma'am, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Beth Ann.
I'm Brian.
Priblick. We are the owners of 200 May Street. We live at 40 Homeland Street, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. The home has been in our family for over 60 years, and our sole purpose in asking for the variance is to help our daughter that was recently widowed. We are not changing the existing footprint of the home, which I understand is already a non-conforming lot. We are just trying to help make her life a little easier by renovating a very old home and creating a place where she feels safe to raise our grandbabies, which are 1 and 5, in a home that she has grown up in. I'm not sure, if you have any questions that we can help answer, but that is really our sole purpose in fixing the house, to make it more secure and comfortable for her to be able to stay in Fairfield, to keep our 5-year-old granddaughter in McKinley School, which she is currently in, and just to make her feel safe and secure.
Okay. All right, does the board have any questions? And how do you pronounce your name, just so I have it right?
Priblick, you did really well.
Priblick, okay. Anyone have any questions for the Priblicks? See anyone asking questions? All right. Is there anyone to speak in favor of the application? Anyone in opposition? Matt, are you aware of anyone either way?
I am not, no.
Okay.
Kevin,
Thank you. Yes.
should I be hearing music, or somebody had music playing? I hear music selling the line.
I believe that's actually Attorney Gumper's office, and because I had to unmute everybody to make sure that they have an opportunity to speak to this item. So
It's kind
I will
of,
be remuting,
yeah.
since I've heard nobody.
Thank you.
He just went into the elevator.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That closes the hearing for the Priblicks.
Thank you.
Next item is number 3, 332 Fairview Avenue, map 128, parcel 272. Petition of Andrew and Colleen Drum for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce 2 street line setbacks on the corner lot from 30 feet and 22 feet, currently 21.2 feet, 11.9 feet, proposing 21.1, 9.3 feet, section 5.2.5 to increase lot coverage from 20%, currently 21.7%, proposing 22.8%. Permission to construct a 2-story addition with new dormers premises A zone. And I saw Mr. Drum. There you go. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, hi, my name is Andrew Drum. I'm current owner, along with my wife, Colleen, of Fairview Avenue. To echo the thoughts of numerous people that have already spoken, we've lived here for 16 years, love it in Fairfield. We have 10-year-old twins. We're sort of, as you can see with the house size, we'd like to stay here. We love it. We love the neighborhood. We'd like to expand the home to sort of fit our growing family. The reason for the configuration of the home, the living room and the first floor is on that side of the house. And it's Currently, our dimension is about 10 by 20. So we'd like to increase that living room to be a livable size, 18 by, I guess, 20 it would be. Also, as it would raise it to the second floor, we would increase the size of our master bedroom to allow for closet space, which we don't have, and also an ensuite bathroom. Again, this as many as I've heard, it competes with a lot of the houses on the street appearance, and the reason for my request is obviously we're a non-conforming corner lot. I don't know. I think that's all I really have to say regarding my request.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to open up to questions, but just a reminder, if you're not speaking, you're just listening, please mute because we can hear a lot of background noise from a lot of different avenues. I hear sirens and paper shuffling and everything. I'm trying to be as quiet as I can. I need to keep mine on mute, as anyone would expect, but everyone else, please mute so I don't hear it and the board members don't hear background noise, and we make sure we hear the applicant and whoever's speaking. So, and I hear ringing and siren now, so.
I'm sorry.
So let's have some questions, or any questions for the drums from the board. Sharon says no. Jane shaking head no. Katie shaking head no. Terry shaking head no. Okay. Now, anyone wish to speak in favor of the drum application? I don't see anything on the side. Matt, are you aware?
I see nothing.
All right. Anyone in opposition?
No, but somebody has to turn their music off.
No music here.
It'll get, it's Attorney Gumper's office, I believe. It'll get turned off as soon as we hear that nobody wishes to speak in opposition.
No one
and then I'll
in
remute
opposition. Emmeline, you can turn that off. No one spoke up. And maybe someone can get a hold of Gumper's office to tell him to please take that off.
I'll do that right now.
All right. And there's no questions, no one in addition, and no one in opposition. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Drum. Go on to the next matter. Number 4, 72 Longview Avenue. Map 130, parcel 365, petition of Leah Vigorito for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the side and sum of 2 sideline setbacks from 5 feet and 20 feet, currently 1 foot and 16.1 feet, proposing 0.7 of a foot and 15.8 feet. Permission to construct a second floor addition, premises B zone. And I see the agent is Casuto. Is Ms. Figueredo or Casuto? Mr. Casuto, thank you. Please present the application.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Mike Casuto, architect here on behalf of Ms. Vigorito, speaking about 76 Longview. What I'd like to chat about here is an interesting house that's very close to a side yard setback. It's a very strange sighting. I've never seen a lot where you have a 1 foot existing side yard setback there. So I have a feeling that I didn't look through the historical records here, but perhaps that line was moved one day previous to the new zoning regulations. So when I was approached by Ms. Vigorito, she told me about her very small house that she has here, and the second floor, which the footprint is very small. So the footprint of the whole entire house is only about 24 by 26. And the second floor with the cross gables and the roof there really doesn't lead to a lot of usable square footage up there at all. and there's only one bedroom or bathroom on the first floor. So her idea was to, get some usable space that she can have up there and stay in the neighborhood. She's a longtime resident of Fairfield, and she doesn't want to move. So in looking at some of the design here, the idea was to try to get her the square footage without treading too, difficult on the site here. And when I'm looking at my regulations, having that 5-foot setback on the side yard really only gives us a buildable footprint that's very awkward to try to do anything as far as an addition in this house. If you look at the elevations and the architecturals there, the existing north elevation, it's a pretty straightforward symmetrical roof line there. And if that was to have a 5-foot setback imposed on it, there's just no way that we'd be able to put an addition on here and keep the aesthetic of the neighborhood and any kind of house aesthetic intact here. So, if this house was pushed over, and it was an existing 5-foot setback, with the existing conditions, it would be easy to go off the back with a proposed addition that would stay in harmony with everything. But they really just want to go over the second floor with an addition out the back. Try to tread lightly, make it look not obtrusive to the neighborhood. Get them just a little bit of square footage without having to raise the roof line. You can see that in the context there, we're keeping the roof line the same way in order to just put a 4-pitch on that roof to make it happen over there. So hopefully, what I'm trying to convey is that treading lightly, trying to get a very modest amount of square footage. All of the other requirements are taken care of. We're not encroaching or bumping up next to FAR or coverage or height or anything. They're looking for a little bit more usable square footage over there. And in order to get that done, if you look on our plans for our first floor there, there's really, to bump out that back, I have no way of really understanding the nature of the foundation on that rear bump. So the only way to guarantee that to happen is if we were to dig 2 other post columns there and then take care of the structure from there. So aesthetics, a small existing side yard setback, creating the hardship to be able to have the homeowner be able to use their land for a very modest second floor addition. So they're also asking for a small deck off the back, but that's within the regulations, and that shouldn't be any issues. Also taking care of coverage not being an issue there. So that mostly wraps it up. I'd be happy to answer any questions if I could.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Casado? Yes, Jane.
Hi. Did you investigate putting an addition off to the side, kind of behind the driveway, where there's more room?
Well, we'd also be in the side yard setback there as well.
Right, but
so
you wouldn't be.
It's one or the other.
Yes, but you wouldn't be less than a foot from the property line. You could have kept it a little bit more generous on that side.
Well, we would have needed to come see you either way.
Right.
So this is their desires to go off the back. They want to be able to have to be able to see the sunsets from the backyard, and the way that the house is sited over there, it's not amenable to their desires.
And there's no first floor addition. It's all just going to be this second floor thing hanging out over the existing
Correct.
back deck.
Yeah. If you look at the elevations on page 3 there, you'll see we're going to be planting some columns and supporting that second floor addition there.
Am I supposed to, the last time I could see them, but I can't see them on this now.
All right, thank you.
It doesn't matter anyway, Jen, but we'll figure it out.
Hello.
Any other questions?
Oh, I'm not muted, sorry. Sorry, guys.
That's all right, Josephine. Jane, yes?
I forgot to ask, do you have anything from your neighbor, Mr. Walkenhorst?
Do I have, as far as any kind of comments?
Yeah. Because
Not that
that's
I'm
your
aware of,
immediate,
no.
the neighbor immediately to that side. No?
Right. I don't have any comments from that neighbor, no.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Katie, Terry, Sharon? Okay, Terry shaking his head no, and I had negative shakes of the head from Katie and Sharon. Wait 1 second, Sharon, you got to unmute.
Hi. Hi.
Question?
Just one brief question. I guess per Jane, not just comments, but did they go around and ask or tell people they were doing this? The neighbors? Usually they submit something saying the neighbors knew about this.
Well, we did send out sent the letters of notification to in the package, in the submission package for the radius. But as far as going out and petitioning any of them personally, I'm not aware of, no.
So you didn't get signatures?
For or against, no.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Anyone in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? Is there anyone on the call in, either in favor or opposition? None. All right, that ends this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Casado.
Thank you.
The next item, number 5, 179 Somerset Avenue, map 299, parcel 168. Petition of Kevin Mueller and Caitlin McCallan for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the sum of 2 sideline setbacks from 7 feet and 25 feet, currently 6.6 feet and 24 feet, proposing 6.6 feet and 24 feet. Permission to construct a second floor addition, premises A zone. I see a McCallan and I see a Gary raising his hand. Oh, you're the
You can hear me
applicant.
okay?
Thank you. Gary Chase, Mr. Chase.
Yes. Gary Chase. I'm with Christian Ray Studio. We're at 63 Uncla Road here in Fairfield. And we are representing our clients, Kevin Mueller and Caitlin McCallan. They hired us to add an addition, design an addition for their home. And basically a quick synopsis of what we're looking to do is a small expansion of the living space on the first floor, which includes kind of increasing the depth of an otherwise very shallow garage, adding a mudroom in place of the second bay that was there. So they'll be losing a garage bay to add that function. And up above that expansion will be a new second floor expansion, which will house 2 additional bedrooms. Clients have lived in the Pinehurst neighborhood, which they love, for a few years now. They really hope to stay there. They just started their family, which I'm sure will be growing. So they're looking to gain a bit more space in their home. Currently on the second floor is the master suite and then 2 kind of very undersized bedrooms, one of which will be going away to make way out to the new addition. And 2 new bedrooms, as I mentioned, will be added. The reason we're here is seeking a variance to section 5.2.1 as mentioned. We are currently deficient in side yards by very little. The existing conditions are 6.6 feet on one side, 7 feet required. So we're just missing the mark on that side, and then 17.4 feet on the other side. So we are a foot short of our combined required total of 25 feet. We are, however, conforming to the allowable floor area. We're conforming to the allowable lot coverage. And we're also conforming to the allowable building height and number of stories. In fact, we're quite a bit lower on our proposed building height. We have a signed petition from the neighbors, which you guys should have received. There were 5 abutters to the home, so you should have that in front of you. And then, Matt, I'm not sure if you're controlling visuals or if you guys just want to reference maybe just the front elevation. You should see a kind of a colored front elevation sketch. So what we'd like to kind of note here is intentionally designing this addition to be in keeping with the neighborhood. We made an effort to keep the scale of that piece over the garage down, and
to tell you how to do it without
up here. So we're making an effort to keep that scale down. I'm sorry, there's someone speaking. Can you guys hear me?
Go ahead, Mr. Chase. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, that front elevation sketch there should show you the what we're proposing. Again, very much keeping in scale the neighborhood. You see the addition off to the left part of the existing home, and then in the existing kind of box of the home, we are adding a couple new dormers just to increase some more usable space inside those bedrooms. And lastly, we are proposing a covered roof over the existing front entry stoop. So we feel that, again, this is in keeping with the style of the neighborhood, is conforming to all of the bulk requirements, except for this issue that was kind of a pre-existing non-conforming issue of the side yard setbacks. I believe that's it on my end, so I appreciate the time, and we're hoping that the board looks upon this favorably and approves us to move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Yes, and we do have the signed petitions and then the elevation in our packet. So we had that. Any questions for Mr. Chase? Jane, shaking your head no. Katie? Carrie? Sharon? Sharon? Any questions?
No, everything sounded great. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Anyone in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? Anyone on the call in opposition to the matter that is 179 Somerset Avenue?
Middle-class people and people who are hourly wages and middle-class folks. You have over 50% of them 6 months ago all saying they don't think that their children are ever going to have the same standard of living they had. He has really damaged the economy for hardworking and middle-class people. That's why I say the second reason I'm running is to restore the backbone of this country. Hardworking middle-class people. The president has to be part of the solution, not the problem. Ordinary people are getting crushed. And guess what? If you
tell who's speaking, or someone have a TV on or something?
You are really getting crushed.
Can you hear me?
Black youth is up in the 36, 37%
All right, so there was a little bit of a double booking, what I'm being told. And HTC has signed on to our meeting. And somebody obviously has something going on in the background, and I'm not sure who it is. I did see Mr. Franzen on. I see Mr. Keto on. I think they're both here for HTC. And that is an error. You know, we got obviously double booked, and they tried to sign on. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention and the rest of the people on the panel here and on the board that if you're on for HTC, sign on. All right, and I think they
Whoever's not on for zoning board of appeals, please sign off.
Mute him. I just muted George, and I think he's for HTC, and that's where all the back noise was coming from. So I apologize, Gary, if you're in the middle of yours. I apologize. I just wanted to get this out
We were just
Looks like
checking
we're
to see
okay.
if there were oppositions, so we're almost at the end.
Okay. All right, I think we're okay at this point.
I haven't heard any opposition, and it was open for a period of time, so that matter is now closed. Thank you, Mr. Chase, and thank you,
very much.
Muller and McAllen. Next item is number 6, 23 Benedict Avenue, petition of Kimberly and William Rasmussen for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.5, to increase the lot coverage from 20%, currently 20.11%, proposing 21.96%. Permission to construct a deck against above-ground pool premises, a zone. Rasmussen or their applicant, agent, I mean.
Hi, my name is Kim Rasmussen. I am the homeowner of 23 Benedict Avenue, and I am requesting a variance for an above-ground pool. And I have sent out a petition to all neighbors that are touching our property, as well as sent a letter to every home within 250 feet of any part of our property, and I have not received any letters in opposition. I have also spoke to the neighbors touching the left side of the property, right side of the property, and behind our property, and all of those neighbors have said that they are completely for having the above ground pool plus the deck. And the reason for the deck is because a handicapped child lives in our home, and he would have no way of getting in and out of the pool if it weren't for a deck in order to put his wheelchair and all of his.
Okay. All right. I see that the petitions are in there and the map and your little diagram. Any questions for Ms. Rasmussen on the board? Sharon is shaking no. Jane, Katie, Katie, you have a question? Terry?
I'm good.
All right, Jane, I know you have a question. All right, go ahead, Jane.
My question, just want to make sure I understand that the variance is only for coverage, nothing else. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what the call is seeking. Ms. Rasmussen, you're only seeking so you can put a deck on, correct? Ms. Rasmussen? Ms. Rasmussen, can you hear me?
Matt might be able to answer it, just to make sure that I understand the application is just for coverage.
Well, that's what it is. That's what the call is. It's the only thing we're considering is for lot coverage.
That's fine. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Anyone wish to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? On the call-in, is there anyone in favor or opposition to the application, which is number 6, 23 Benedict Avenue? Hearing nothing, that hearing is closed. We'll take that up for voting later. Next item that we have is number 7, 47 Knollwood Drive, map 126, parcel 481. Petition of Andrew and Jennifer LaPlante for a variance of the zoning regulation, section 6.3.3, to reduce the time frame to construct an accessory apartment from 5 years, proposing 0. Permission to construct a 1-story addition with basement for an accessory apartment premises, a zone. And I should note that there wasn't a letter sent in, kind of an opposition, and also in favor from Mr. Gleason at 106 Knollwood Road. And I see Mr. Plant is ready. You can address that since it was in favor and opposition. Why not, for efficiency, address that during your application, okay? Might be easier for you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is my first time here, so sorry if I screw anything up. Thanks for hearing this. So we are trying to construct an attached accessory apartment for my parents. My parents, this is where we've decided between my siblings and myself that this is where my parents will come and live with us through the rest of their years. And so that is what we are hoping to do here. We have worked with William Levy, who's our architect, and he's really created a nice plan where this accessory apartment is attached to our home so that it's not so specific as far as, it being like, because we're not trying to create a rental property in any way. We're trying to have my parents come live here and give them the privacy that they deserve and the home that they deserve while still having them close by. I did see that email from Mr. Gleason. As you mentioned, he's in opposition, but he's also for it. He had mentioned that if this was for, the care of parents or someone that was ill, he was for it, but he was in opposition if it was for a rental. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. In our neighborhood, that's not something we're looking to do. I also did notice that my neighbor across the street, Carrie, she Makeover actually wrote a letter in favor of this. And my neighbors around us, they're all understanding what it is we're trying to do. I don't have signatures from them, but we've been talking about this with them for a very long time. And everybody is in agreement with it. But I don't have like physical signatures from them.
All right. Thank you, Ms. LaPlante. Any questions from the board for Ms. LaPlante? Terry?
No questions.
Sharon? Sharon shaking her head no. Katie, no. Jane, no. All right. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application or in opposition, let me know. Hopefully I hear from the in favors first. Any opposition? Also the call in. Favor or opposition for 47 Knollwood Drive. We do have the letter from Gleason and mentioned that there was another letter as well. Anyone? Matt, are you aware of anyone else?
I have not seen anyone.
Okay. Thank you. The Knollwood Drive application clearing is now closed. We'll take that up shortly. The next item, number 844 Sconset Drive, map 145, parcel 76, petition of Stanley and Isabel Rutkowski for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4.3, to reduce the street line setback from 30 feet, proposing 7.5 feet, and the sideline setback from 10 feet, proposing 8 feet. Permission to install an in-ground pool, premises a zone. We received the signature report by email, and there was one notation about one signature about parking on Matilda. Rutkowski, or there, please present your matter. Are they here?
He is here.
Can you hear me?
Here. Let me see.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Stasha, yes. That's his name.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Just try to speak up as loud as you can.
Yes, sir. So sorry about this. I tried to go with the rules here, and for some reason my picture isn't coming up on the computer screen. So bear with me there, but you are hearing me clearly now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you for taking this call. I guess I will address first thing. The lot is a unique property. It's not your typical standard corner lot. It has two street lines which run parallel. We do meet the setback for the front of our home. That's Sconset, where we come into, but we do not for the backyard, which is a private street, Matilda Place. The Matilda Place street is 36 feet from our home. We currently have a fence that surrounds the property that we would replace to make it nicer if this variance gets approved. We wouldn't change the outside appearance. We have the fence up since we bought the house in 2011, and it was there prior to us buying it for privacy for our backyard. I've spoken to all my neighbors on Sconset Drive. I've had signatures of 14 or 15, which hopefully you all have received. I sent that in. Signatures stating that they are not opposed to the process. That's Sconset and Matilda Place. Behind our street, behind our house, Matilda Place, is a basin detention. So there's no actual houses right there, as you could probably see on the map. So what we're proposing to do is not to invade any additional space aside from bringing on a pool in this area. The people that have signed off on Matilda have stated, all of them have stated not to use their private street, which I did not plan on doing. There won't be any damage to it or any issues with use of it. It should be as is, and we will not be utilizing that.
Well, if it's private, you can't use it without their permission. So.
Correct, but I guess that was their statement on what, I'm sorry about that, on what they signed off on, is that they all stated that they would not, would like us not to use it, of course, and that is not the plan.
Okay. All right, is that it for the presentation?
And on the side of the house is a steep slope with rocks, so it becomes a difficult spot to get to. We have lived here since 2011. We have a great neighborhood and really have no interest in moving. Love all the young families here and hope to stay here for as long as we're on this planet. So thank you. If there's anything I missed, please let me know. It's my first time doing this.
That's fine. We'll see if there's any questions now. Any questions for the applicant? Yes, Jane?
Hi. Where is the gate to get into the area?
The large gate is right at the front of the driveway on the map there.
It's not indicated here, yeah. And then during construction, where will the pool company access?
Yeah. They would have to go through our driveway.
And not on Matilda Place at all?
Correct.
Okay, and then is the fence, I mean, I know the answer, I just want to make sure it's clear though, the fence that's currently along Matilda Place, is that conform to the pool regulations for fencing?
Yeah, it is, yes.
Okay, and so
yes,
that has to be there no matter what. So the fence can never come down, in other words.
The plan would be, because the posts are rotten, we plan to replace it right in the same exact spot, so it would actually look nicer from the outside.
Would it remain a stockade fence so you can't see in from Matilda Place, or would it someday become something else?
No, we would want the privacy to keep it, and I think everybody would want that. So yes, it would look very much the same.
So is that a condition of the application, that it would be an opaque fence across that whole backside versus like a wrought iron fence?
Oh, sure. That's no problem. We don't want people to be looking in. We have a 7 and a 9-year-old. It's certainly not something we would like. So yes,
so
absolutely.
You're offering to make that a condition of the application?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me.
Okay, any other questions? Terry?
No questions.
Katie? Sharon? Okay, all shook their heads no. All right, anyone in favor or in opposition on the call-in list or on video? Please speak up, give us your name. Matt, are you aware?
I am not, no. One thing, when you're done, I've got one thing I got to announce.
Okay. Hearing nothing in favor, opposition, questions have been asked. That closes the hearing on number 8, 44 Sconset Drive, and number 9 we've already taken. Matt, yes?
To anyone who has signed into the meeting that is looking for the Historic District Commission, their meeting is being held on WebEx 1, and are to reach out to Adam Cliver to get sign-in instructions from him. We apologize. There was a mistake on an email, so please reach out to Adam Cliver. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Matt. Next item.
You're welcome.
Number 10, 34 Rena Place, map 7, parcel 109. Petition of Charles Parlee for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the street line and some of 2 sideline setbacks from 30 feet and 25 feet, currently 29 feet and 18 feet, proposing 29 feet and 18 feet. And section 5.2.5 to increase the total floor area from 40%, currently 18.8%, proposing 46.5%. Permission to construct a second floor addition with attic above premises A zone. Okay, applicant. You got to unmute yourself, Attorney Willinger.
Let me do that for him.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Mr. All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, good afternoon. My name is Charles Willinger, and I represent Kimberly and Charles Parlee. And the Parlees are here actually with us in the office as we participate remotely in the public hearing. If you have any questions of them, as I said, they are here. We've applied for the variances just stated to construct a second-story addition to the residence for Kimberly, Charles, and their 2 children, Aiden and Cameron. The property, as was called out, is a Residence A zoning district. I'd like to start, Mr. Chairman, by saying, unfortunately, the construction was started and is well underway prior to the application being filed, and I'd like to explain how that happened. I'll start by saying my clients were shocked to learn that the contractor never got a permit, and they were more shocked to learn that they couldn't proceed without this variance. According to what my clients were told by the contractor, and I can't really verify it independently, Daniel Trisaco, who's the Trisaco and Sons contractor, went to the building department early on and was told that he could build a second story as long as it's 32 feet or less in height. The building department, according to the contractor, never mentioned variances. The contractor orders the lumber and other building supplies that are dropped off at the site. This happened the first week of March. That's about the time, as you recall, where we all understood that this is a real pandemic and that it's really going to affect everyone. The framers that the contractor hired, fearing that they were going to be stopped from doing the work because of the pandemics, went ahead and framed the house. A day or so later, the contractor sees it's framed, decides he should roof it to protect the building from the elements. And by this time, of course, the pandemic resulted in the town offices being closed. He never applied for a building permit. Finally, on May 11, the contractor submitted the documents to obtain the building permit. And that's when, for the first time, on May 11th, he told my clients that they needed to get a variance. Now, there's no question, ladies and gentlemen of the commission, that the framers and the contractors were wrong. And there's no question that as owners of the property, we are ultimately responsible for their actions. I do want to just stress that we really didn't know what they were doing without a permit, and we sincerely apologize for their mistake. Having said all that, I do want to now direct your attention to the site. 34 Arena Place is a ranch home. It was built in 1954, 66 years ago, on a 5,000 square foot lot. The entire neighborhood consists of 5,000 square foot lots created about 110 years ago, well before your zoning regulations and your subdivision regulations were adopted. They're all non-conforming. They're non-conforming because, as you know, in a Residence A, the lot has to be at least 9,375 square feet, not 5,000. Minimum square is 50 versus 75. Front setback is 29, instead of 30. And the sum of the sides, if there is a second story, has to be 25, and we're 17.7 feet. So we're non-conforming in all those regards. The existing house is, to say the least, small. It contains 915 square feet, the existing, of living area. It has a kitchen that's not large enough to have a table. It has no dining room. It has a living room with a small table, 3 bedrooms, and one bath. Comparing that to today's modern living standards and basic housing requirements, the house is functionally obsolete. There's no question about it. Functionally obsolete, and that's really the reason why we are here for these variances. The clients bought the house knowing that they were going to expand it for their family so that the 4 of them can live fairly, within their budget and fairly comfortably. The requested variances have been called out by the chair. We need 1 foot for the street line setback, 7 feet really for some of the sides. Naturally, some of the sides pertain really to the 2nd floor, so it's off the ground. We also need a variance for the building floor area as a percentage of lot area. The maximum is 40%. We have, if you count the attic, which you must count because of the 6-foot ridge line, that is 46.5. The attic, however, is going to be used just for storage, so really living space is 35.8 under the 40%. Now, members of the commission, you have the plans. I'm assuming everybody has a set. They're not complicated, so I'm not going to go into great lengths unless you have questions. I just want to point out on the 1st floor, what we propose to do is have an open kitchen and living room, a dining room, a small office or a den, really. It's a combination office den, and a bathroom. So there will be 892 square feet on the 1st floor. We propose on the 2nd floor to have a small hallway bathroom, 3 bedrooms, which we're actually deciding probably to convert into 2 because they're less than 100 square feet each. So each of the children will have their own bedroom, and there'll be the master bedroom with a bath. So the 2nd floor, whether it's 2 or 3 small bedrooms, probably 2 plus the master, will be 398 square feet. So that the total square footage of living space, if you grant the variance, will be 1,790 square feet. Not a mansion, and still, frankly, a little tight for a family of 4, but within our budget. But more important, it is quite similar to the houses in our neighborhood. Now, we submitted, and I trust that you all have a copy of a number of photos and a map. Oh, you don't have the map, I'm sorry. I wish you did. I have the map which shows the site and all the homes surrounding the site that are, not all of them, but many of them that are depicted on these photos. And you can see from these photos in our direct neighborhood, there are a number of 2-story homes, both on Arena Place and in Alberta and on the neighboring Windermere Street. And there was a series of maybe 8 or 9 photos. I don't think I have to go through each individual photo. But that shows that we really are, I think, consistent with what's in the neighborhood, which is an important consideration. Talking about considerations, I think the issues that this commission has to decide on this application and I'll address them now. First is hardship, obviously. Our hardship is the imposition of today's current modern regulations on a house that's 66 years old and our neighborhood is 110 years old. That's the gist and the basis of the hardship. But if also reviewing Connecticut case law, you'll see, and as you know, I'm sure that the courts have emphasized time and time again, in addition to hardship, and I think, frankly, it's the major focus that the courts focus on, is the critical element of this. They ask this question: if you grant this variance, would the development be in harmony with the character of the neighborhood? Is this something that is in harmony with the balance of the neighborhood? And will there be any adverse impacts on the neighborhood? So I think these photos and your own knowledge of this RA neighborhood would approve that we are going to be consistent with and in harmony with our neighbors. And I would, my own opinion is, and you can see by these photos, by these various upgrades, I think we're actually upgrading the neighborhood, not just us, but everybody else who has upgraded their property. So there's no adverse impacts. And I noticed tonight that you've had a lot of similar variances, and I know every month, particularly in the RA zone, the smaller zones, you are getting applications, and you're getting them, and you're granting the far majority of them, thank goodness, because I think you as a board recognize that these older neighborhoods have houses that are functionally obsolete, and really the people need your help in modernizing them and impacting the neighborhood positively. I noticed last month there were two very similar applications that you granted. One was for a rear setback for a dormer in the RA zone. Another one was for a couple variances for a second-story addition. And I know this afternoon you've had a number of second-story additions as well. And the fact that you have granted these petitions, I think, bodes well for us for the last legal issue, and that's the doctrine of fundamental fairness. And it's an important doctrine to the zoning board. And the courts have held that homeowners should be afforded the same treatment as their neighbors. That's the Vichy case. Vichy case is very similar to what we are. In Stonington, there are 4 vacant lots, 100-year-old subdivision, all undersized to the zoning regulations that were in effect when the homeowners applied to the ZBA for houses on these lots. 3 houses were granted. The 4th house, Mr. Vichy asked for the same approvals that his neighbors got from the ZBA. ZBA denied it. It went to court, and the court said that, and actually held, that what Mr. Vichy was asking for was no more than what his neighbors were permitted to do, and the ZBA was required to approve the application. And in effect, fundamental fairness almost trumped the question of hardship. And so just like in Vichy, what we're asking is that we be placed on parity, on the same level as our neighbors, a lot of our neighbors who have upgraded and added a second story. And rest assured, this will be in harmony with the character of the neighborhood, and we're not adversely impacting anyone. And I think that's best shown by the petition, and that was filed as well. Yes. Hopefully you all have a copy of the petition. These are the homes most directly impacted by our proposal. You see the addresses, even some phone numbers and the names of our neighbors, and they are all supporting the addition of the second story. So for all those reasons, members of the commission, I would ask that and respectfully suggest that you have a sufficient justification for granting these variances. And as I say, my clients are here. We'll answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Willinger. Does the board have any questions for Attorney Willinger or the parleys? Yes, Jane, you have your hand? Okay.
Yes, I have a question. Our agenda says that the FAR is 46.5. That's what's proposed, but that is not even shown on the I guess it's just an error. It's not shown on the survey as what's proposed for the FAR.
It is actually shown, and we'll point that out in just one second.
It says proposed 18.8.
You see the survey? I don't know what you're looking at. It's called site plan. That shows the lot and the existing house. There's a grid on the top left.
Right.
And that grid shows, hold on one second, it's on this grid. Under maximum building floor area, it's about the 6 or so bottom. And that says proposed 46.5. Do you see that?
I think I have an older version because mine says 18.8%.
Next column over.
No, it's 18 point, well, the existing is 18.3, the proposed is 46.5. Maybe you did have an older.
I think I have an older version, but nevertheless, we don't see an attic floor plan. It wasn't included.
You don't have a floor?
We don't have an attic floor plan. We only have the first and second floor plan.
What? Okay. Let me make sure I understand. You have our proposed first and second floor plan.
I have one drawing, one architectural drawing. That's it. That's on sheet 1 of 2. I don't have a second sheet. So am I missing it? Did I not receive it? Or does it not?
I'm missing it as well.
Jane, I was missing it too. Matt just emailed it to me, I think.
So, okay. So the reason you're that 6.5% over FAR is because you have this generous attic space.
That's correct. That's correct. Without the attic, it's 38.5.
Okay, which would be totally within the regulations. So the roof slope that these drawings show is a 9 and 12 slope.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was a lesser slope, then you would have lesser volume, and then it could be compliant. Correct?
Assuming architecturally they could do that, then that would be compliant.
Architecturally, they could do that. It would just be reducing the slope of the roof. And you're saying they're not using it for any other purpose.
Storage.
Yeah. So.
Just storage.
So it's not really living space that's necessary. It's just what they want.
It's necessary in terms of when you have 2 children and a family, you'd like storage space, so it is necessary.
Right, but I'm just if the slope was reduced and the volume of the attic space, which we don't see, you could get that what you're asking for, the 46.5. You could get it down to 40%.
Theoretically, absolutely. The issue we have, though, unfortunately, is that the addition has been framed and roofed already. It's existing.
Yeah. But that's.
And we would still need the other variances, but that one.
But that particular one, that speaks to volume and mass, could be remedied. So you wouldn't need the variance, and you would still have the number of bedrooms and living space that you're saying that you need, or that the client needs.
Yes, I'm saying theoretically that's possible, but people that are on tight budgets and to have them demolish it and end up suing the developer and maybe 4 years get some money back, it's awful. It's an awful price to pay for a contractor's mistake. And I understand it's not your issue,
right?
But it's a reality. And the fact is, it's with a 3 or 4 foot difference, it's still in harmony with the character of the neighborhood. It's not like this is a big mansion that's sticking out.
Those are all my questions.
All right, thank you, Jane. Any other questions? Katie, Sharon, Terry?
Oh, I'm good.
Nods a head no for Katie and Sharon. And Mr. Keegan said no. Okay, anyone wish to speak in favor of the application? And is there anyone in opposition? Anyone on the call in favor or opposition, please state your name and let me know whether you're in favor or in opposition, and I'll take you in order. Okay, Matt, are you aware?
I have not seen anyone, Mr. Chairman.
That concludes the hearing. Attorney Willinger, there you are. You moved on me. You're not on the left. This is concluded. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners.
And we're on to number 11. And Brian, we need you on this.
I am here.
Johnny on the spot. Thank you very much. And Jane is sitting out. And this is 137 Shoreham Village Drive, map 130, parcel 222, petition of David and Eunice Olesen for variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the street line setback from 30 feet, currently 28 feet, proposing 26 feet, permission to construct a one-story addition and second floor dormer, premises A zone. We did have some emails and letters that came in on opposition and also some that were in favor. I will pull those up and announce them at the appropriate time, but I'll let the applicant get started. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for your time today. My name is David Alexu, and this is my wife, Eunice. We've lived in our house for 10.5 years, and our application for is a modest one-story 6 foot by 20 addition to expand our existing kitchen and dining area and to expand an existing dormer to create a second full bathroom over our existing structure. The reason behind our variance request is that our property is, it's a unique kind of pie-shaped property, and there's a large amount of frontage on our that encompasses our property, but it does not conform to a cross street. So we still have a 30-foot setback requirement on the property. The expansion of our existing structure will just, come out 6 feet by 20 feet on the first floor, but it'll only intrude 2 feet into the existing, 30-foot setback requirement based off of our existing build. We have 2 children. They're both 8 and 6, and having just one bathroom in our house, things are getting cozy, and as the years go by, I imagine they would become even more cozy as well. Our kitchen, as previously mentioned, just our dining area itself, it's a 9 by 8 space, and getting more than 4 people into the space is a really tight squeeze. So we were trying to make this addition, add on to our kitchen to make it more livable and functional for our property. We have submitted I believe Matt submitted signatures to you guys for the 5 neighbors closest to the part of our property that is undergoing the construction. And I hope that you guys have them all.
Yes.
But they are, on the side of the kind of half circle or pie-shaped piece of property that is closest to where the construction would take place. We want to thank you guys for your time, and please let us know if we have any questions or we screwed anything up.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And any questions for the Olesens? Brian, any question?
Trying to get an idea of the grade of the property, but none from me.
And then Sharon shook her head no. Terry or Katie, any questions?
Questions from Terry.
Okay. And we did have emails that the board is aware from Fournier and Wong. I'm just making sure here. Fournier at can have the average right at the moment, but I think that was 134. And Tiffany Wong, who lives at 64 Shoreham Village. A Carrie Makeover, also in favor. And then we had an opposition on this one as well. And This is from, there was an opposition from Wilhelms. Let me see if there's anyone that wishes to speak on this. While we consider it, those in favor or opposed, please give your name and let me know if you are in favor or opposed, and I'll take you in order. Anyone on the call in?
Kevin, this is Jen LaPlante from 47 Knollwood Drive. Carrie Makeover's letter was for my property.
Oh, okay. I wrote it down wrong. You mentioned that, and I was wondering why I remembered that. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
Sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Olekson. I took someone away on a in favor. It goes over to.
Okay.
Oh, hey, I'll be in favor for yours there. I'll give it right back. I think it sounds great.
Thank you.
No one speaking. Would you like to address? Do you have that email? I'm trying to search it right now from Wilhelms.
Yes, we did receive a copy of the objection from the Wilhelms.
Would you like to address that?
Yes, I think we would like to take an opportunity to go and address this.
Great, thank you.
So the work is being performed by a reputable and licensed builder in town who's, very familiar with all the town building codes and regulations. He knows the rules and regulations set forth by the town, and he's obviously going to go and abide by them. Our driveway, it's a wider driveway, and it can fit at least 4 cars into it. So, at any point in time, there's going to be space for at least 2 of the builder's vehicles in our driveway. Since the letter came to our attention, we've since reached out to our builder. He's Craig Samuelson, and he mentioned to us that generally he won't have more than 2 to 3 vehicles on our property at any point in time. He said, occasionally for things like pouring the foundation and, other things like that, sometimes there'll be more than that, but as a general rule of thumb, it's going to be a reasonable number of vehicles. We've held off on starting construction on the property for a couple of months due to the height of the pandemic concerns, and we waited till things kind of died down. And regardless, construction workers are considered essential workers. So, that was one other thing to address their point. Furthermore, the property that is objecting to us, the Wilhelms at 168 Shoreham Village Drive, they petitioned for and were granted a variance in 2006 for both lot coverage percentage as well as rear setback that is as big, if not bigger than our request to you guys. To get it, their request was for a variance on for coverage on a deck that was put on the property, and they're at a similar point. They're on the outside of the circle, whereas we're on the inside of the circle, but they're very close to where we are. And the issue of having construction vehicles on a corner was not a concern for them then. And, we obviously have 2 small children, and we wouldn't want to do anything that would, risk putting them into danger. So we're going to be very mindful of where builders go and park their vehicles.
Okay, well, thank you. Did anyone have any questions on that? Just to rebuttal for the Oleksons? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much. That hearing on 137 Shoreham Village Drive is now closed. Number 12 was continued, and number 13, 220 Carter Henry Drive, map 180, parcel 270B. Petition of Summit RR1 LLC. 1 is spelled out. For a variance of the zoning regulations section 28.6.5 to reduce the number of required parking spaces from 21, proposing 15. Permission to establish a fitness use premises DCD zone. Attorney Fitzpatrick, I believe you're on this. Unmute, sir. Now we're ready for you.
You're unmuted.
Thank you. Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm an attorney in Fairfield with the law firm of Fitzpatrick, Frey, and Bologna. I'm here this afternoon representing Summit RR1 LLC, owner of an office condominium unit located at 220 Carter Henry Drive. This unit is in the Station Square condominium complex. That complex includes the Heritage Square office retail complex fronting on the Post Road, as well as the buildings to the rear of Heritage Square and to the east, which front on Carter Henry Drive and face the railroad tracks. This particular unit is located at the easterly end of the building on the first floor, directly adjacent to a condominium-owned parking lot and the railroad tracks on the north. It's located in the Center Design Business District. Space was formerly occupied by the Fairfield Citizen News. We used this office space for the newspaper. The newspaper business was classified as general office use, and it's a permitted use in the Center Design Business District. Intent of the applicant here is to lease this space to a fitness use to be named Train Station Fitness. The fitness use under Fairfield's regs is a permitted use in the Center Design Business District under the general retail classification. The Town of Fairfield regulations, specifically Section 28, require parking for an office use at the rate of 1 space per 250 square feet of gross floor area. The regs further require parking for retail at the rate of 1 parking space for 200 square feet of gross retail area. The proposed retail space contains 4,070 square feet, which produces a parking requirement of 21 spaces. The prior office use had a parking requirement under the regulations of 15 spaces. As a result, the applicant is requesting a variance of section 28.6.5 to permit a reduction in the number of required parking spaces from the required 21 spaces to the approved 15 spaces in order to permit the utilization of the premises as a fitness use. As you've heard from me in the past, the test for the granting of a variance is set forth in the Smith case, 174 Connecticut 326, a 1978 case, which states, regarding hardship under general statute, section 8-6, parents 3 and parents, a local zoning board may grant a variance where 2 basic conditions are met. 1, the variance is shown not to affect substantially the comprehensive zoning plan, and 2, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the general purpose of the zoning plan. First part of the test, no substantial effect on the comprehensive plan is satisfied here since the proposed use of fitness use is a permitted use in the Center Design Business District. The second part of the test, adherence to the strict letter of the law is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the zoning plan is satisfied here. I submit by several factors. First, the train station fitness will be a relatively small physical fitness training facility, which will emphasize personal training, which reduces potential parking impacts. They anticipate no more than 2 classes a day. The staff, including the owner, will be 4 people. Also, Train Station Fitness anticipates its clients will include commuters who can access facilities either before or after work. To accommodate them, this fitness facility will open at 5 a.m., close at 8 p.m. Certainly, utilization of the facility by commuters results in no additional parking demand. The board should also note that the commuter parking lot, which is adjacent, is open to the general public after 5 p.m. on weekdays and all day on weekends, which means there's a ready availability of parking at those times. There's also the availability of on-street parking in the downtown area. Approval of this variance request would address a demonstrated need for fitness. The facility will utilize virtual training, whereby the clientele do not leave their homes, and hopes to do a good deal of this kind of training. The board has granted parking variances in the past for downtown uses, recognizing that there's parking on street, recognizing that very often patrons are employees who have already parked downtown, and recognizing that patrons downtown for one purpose will often patronize several businesses downtown during the same visit. Lastly, please keep in mind that the parking variance being requested is a total of 6 spaces. The owner has committed to obtaining six spaces From the town, the board has received a letter from Mark Barnhart, the Town of Fairfield Community and Economic Development Office, the office that administers the downtown employee parking program, confirming they are ready and able to accommodate the applicant's request for the rental of 6 spaces to accommodate the shortage here. For the reasons I've outlined, I'd request this application be approved. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you, David Fitzpatrick. Any questions from the board? Jane and Sharon have shook their heads no. Terry and Katie. Katie is shaking her head no. Terry?
No.
Terry shakes his head no. And no questions. Anyone wish to speak in favor or in opposition? Please speak up, give me your name, and tell me whether you're in favor or opposition. Are you aware of anyone?
I have not seen anyone, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That closes the public hearing. Is the board ready to go into working session?
Sure.
Yes.
Thumbs up. I got thumbs up.
Yes.
Brian, we need you back. There you go. Okay. Public hearing has been closed. We are now back into our working executive session. The order that they were presented. The first is on the continued docket. And remember that Brian is sitting in for Sharon on this. And it is 8A, 8B, or continued docket, which is 231 Sterling Street Lot A and 231 Sterling Street Lot B. I would entertain a motion to approve with the condition that if approved, the structures that are built on it will not require any variances. With that condition, which was actually agreed to and volunteered by the applicant, is there a motion? Thank you. Who did that? Brian?
Brian.
Brian.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Are you seconding?
Jane seconds.
Oh, Jane second. Katie, you were muted, so I'll taking Jane's second.
Darn.
You get the next.
All right, discussion. Remember, we had opposition on this by Mr. Benjamin on that, and we heard the responses. We actually went back and opened up the hearing to hear from Mr. Benjamin and to hear from other people as well. So let's have some discussion on this matter.
It's on.
Understanding that the motion to approve it, to move forward, the question is more procedural. Is it for us as the board to specifically recommend such a concession or make a request of the requesting party?
You mean on the condition?
Yeah, in other words, is it for us to ask them to make that concession, to make that recommendation? Or are we supposed to hear it strictly on its merits?
Well, we can, it's a good question, but the condition, the condition flowed from a question by Jane and a concern about structures that would be on there and that they wouldn't have to get this. And I know I look at it, I don't want to put words in Jane's mouth, but you know, the camel's nose under the tent, you know, they start to come in and then they want to get bigger and bigger and be all the way in. So I think the concern that Jane has, I share that concern, is if we can get applicants to volunteer such conditions, let's do so. Obviously, if they want to come back to us, they have to come back to us for any variance for the structure themselves, and we could consider that. This is on the merits, but it's also, I think, a little bit of a belt and suspenders approach based upon the question that Jane had. Jane, do you agree?
I do, but actually this means, so if we grant this with these conditions, that's it. They can't even apply for a variance. Is that correct? In the future?
They could try to apply, then they'd have to appeal that the condition is not valid and go up into the court to appeal that. And quite frankly, they'd be sitting there for many years before they are able to build anything.
My perception was that Attorney Gumper freely offered to include that condition. Am I correct?
That's why I asked the questions in the way I did, follow up on your question to see if it was in, we volunteered it instead of us imposing it. I'm reluctant to try to impose any conditions, Brian, on it unless there are conditions that relate that we can impose. But there are certain conditions which we don't have authority, but there is some law out there that when an applicant does offer up a condition, it carries a little bit more weight.
I wanted to be on the solicitation of such a concession, and also having done so at the attorneys speaking and not directly from the petitioner himself. I want to make sure, because if I see something like that in the future, I want to make sure that I try to get the same type of thing if I'm sitting for Jane.
Yep, he's the agent. I don't know. I'd be hard pressed to say that the applicant, if I was an applicant, I'd be hard pressed to come in and say, well, my agent didn't have authority.
Understood. Yep, agreed.
Okay. Any other discussion? I mean, I recognize the concerns of a neighbor of some changes, but I also have seen this a lot, and it is something that these lot sizes in these particular areas, they were originally planned out to be much less than what our zoning regs turned out to be for that particular area. One thing I don't like is I think we just need to be careful of letters that go out that may be misconstrued as threatening either affordable housing or duplexes. It's always got to be careful to, not make sure that people don't get the wrong meaning, because they're all sensitive to that, especially in Fairfield right now. So I just think we all need to be careful of putting that out, whether it's coming from us as the board, asking people questions, or whether it's any applicants or their agents. But I think it's reasonable for that particular area. So bring it to a vote. Sharon?
I think it's Brian's voting for me.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Brian.
In such, yes.
I have a big note here. Brian for Sharon. Sorry.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
What's your vote, Brian? I didn't hear it.
Yes. Yay.
Okay. Okay. Terry? Katie?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
And yes. And that was taken together for both 8A and 8B. Okay. And then the next one we took was number 9, and we want to do them in the same order. 47 Millard Street. It's the Woods application. Attorney Fallon presented that to construct a second floor addition with attic above. And on this, Brian, you're still on, but this time for Jane. So Jane won't be involved in discussion. Entertain a motion to approve.
Approve. A motion to approve.
Thank you, Sharon. And was there a second?
Yep, second.
Brian, thank you. All right, the discussion. We certainly had a bunch of these on this.
I see no. I had no objection to the petition.
Or do I?
Yeah, I mean, they're They're 10% below the FAR, even with that, so. All right, let's bring it to a vote. Sharon?
Yes.
Terry? Katie?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And yes, for me, it's been approved. Back to number 1, 26 Figler Avenue, petition of the Zinskis, variance, their zoning, and it's to construct an addition and raise the roof line. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved to approve.
Jane, thank you. Sorry, I was looking down. Is there a second? Is that you?
Terry Keegan, second.
All right, discussion?
I think it's a great improvement, architecturally speaking.
We like that.
All right, bring it to a vote. Sharon?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Jane? Yes. For me, that's been approved. Number 2, 200 May Street, petition of the Privilex, and that's to construct second floor over existing first floor. Entertain a motion to approve. They presented their own application.
So moved.
Terry, is there a second?
Second, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, discussion?
Their hardship is spelled out very specifically in the application, even though when they presented, they talked about family requirements, which unfortunately can't be, that's not a hardship, but it's specifically addressed in writing here, so that's good.
Agreed.
Agree. Let's bring it to a vote. Sharon?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Katie? Jane?
Yes.
And yes for me. Okay, number 3, 332 Fairview Avenue. It's petition of the Drums. They presented their own application. To construct a 2-story addition with new dormer. Another one. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Terry. Is there a second?
9 seconds.
Katie O'Grady, second.
All right, discussion.
Seems straightforward.
The corner lots are always difficult for the sides. All right, bring it to a vote. Sharon?
Yes.
Terry? Okay, Katie?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
And yes for me. That's approved, unanimous. Number 4, 72 Longview Avenue. Petition of Viorito and Mr. Casado presented the application. It's to construct second floor addition. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Terry. Second.
Jane seconds.
Discussion.
This is a really interesting house, and I recognize that the existing size and shape of it makes it difficult to put an addition on. However, I think having the building so close to the property line and then just making it even closer is probably not the best location for that addition, which I think could have been put onto the side where there would have been less of a imposition on the next door neighbor from whom we haven't heard anything. So we don't know if they didn't care, didn't know, it's kind of unknown.
Agreed, but they do get the mailers with.
And they have, it's registered, right? They sign.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
they-
the mailer goes out much further. I mean, we suggest that they go to their immediate and as far out as they can. Obviously, the more that go out, the better, in my opinion.
Right.
That is not a legal requirement. It's a suggestion by the zoning office, which I've always supported, and good idea, because we have affirmative response, which is always good. But they do get the mailer, and I mean,
okay, so I know he got,
know that you know the house is already close to your house, so if you know that it says 0.7 feet, you know it's coming. You know it's that side. And yeah, it could fit on the other, but Mr. Casado's points were it would kind of be disjointed, you know, to throw it over on that side, and then you would be closer to the other side, and you'd be close to both sides.
I disagree. I mean, yes, technically, yeah, but I just think as a design, from a design point of view, because I think it could be better than this application if it was on the other side.
Any other?
I think if they need a variance on both sides, you always say we're not here to criticize someone's design. It's if they do the other side, they need a variance. So,
right, but the degree of proximity to a neighbor would be lessened.
I only wish that they had gone out and gotten signatures from that neighbor, but
always do.
Well, you know, we assume people get the mail, but sometimes mail goes astray. So.
All right, we'll bring it to a vote, though. Sharon? What's that?
Yes.
Okay. Terry?
Yes.
Katie?
You won't do anything until you're talking.
I'm saying no.
I'm saying yes. It was approved 4-1.
5.
Where am I? Okay. Number 5, 179 Somerset Avenue. Petition of Mueller McAllen. Mr. Chase presented this, is to construct second floor addition. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Katie O'Grady.
Thank you, Katie. Is there a second?
Second, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, discussion. I mean, we've had this is this the 4th one or the 5th one on this? And there's more to come. You know, when they stay below the FAR, it's always a good thing. It helps in these situations with these particular, with the A zone in particular. Okay. Any other discussion? All right, bring it to a vote. Sharon?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Jane?
No, yes, sorry, yes. Yes.
Yes for me. Number 6, that motion passes unanimously. Number 6, 23 Benedict Avenue. The Rasmussen's application, they presented it, Ms. Rasmussen, to construct deck for the above ground pool. Entertain a motion to approve.
So approved, Sharon. Oh.
Sharon, thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Jane, thank you for seconding. Discussion?
All the neighbors are fine with it. And
this is really negligible.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And they need the deck for someone who's handicapped, so.
And in the future, it could be taken down without not much problem. There's a new owner.
When the pool gets removed, you don't need that deck anymore, which it will get removed eventually. But they will always have a lot coverage variance. All right, bring it to a vote. Sharon?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
And yes from me. Number 7, 47 Knollwood Drive. It's petition of the Plants. Mrs. LaPlante presented the application. And it's to construct a 1-story addition basement for an accessory apartment. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, says Jane.
Thank you. Jane, second.
Second, Katie O'Grady.
Thank you, Katie. Discussion, and remember, we had a opposition in favor letter, both kind of together, from Mr. Gleason, who was at 106 Knollwood. So discussion?
This application is just for time. It's not
Correct.
the actual, I just want to point that out.
Right.
Can build
And
this.
so, what's the basis for the town requiring people to wait 5 years for an application? Do we know?
Matt? You shed some light on what the basis is? We could sit in on a TPC hearing sometime.
I can't give you the tell-all history as to why it was an item that was included in the accessory apartment regulations. My guess was probably because of the universities, but I think it's an arbitrary point at this day and age. But I don't necessarily have a history as to why that 5-year window was included in the regulations.
Yeah, Katie, we'd have to go back to almost like legislative history, like I do research when I was a first-year associate as to what the statute, why they passed it.
Makes no sense, but that's fine.
And hypothetically, if there was a new owner who purchased it after it was built, if they wanted to convert that into rental property, they have to apply for permission to do that anyway, right?
Correct.
So.
Okay, bring it to a vote. Sharon?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
And I am yes. That is passed. Number 8, 44 Sconset Drive, Rutkowski, presented by Tanner, to install an in-ground pool. Entertain a motion to approve.
Jane moves to approve.
Thank you, Jane. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Grady.
Thank you, Katie. Discussion?
I think that they remain solid as part of the application. Did I understand that correctly?
We didn't make it a condition. I have it on a scribble. I'm sorry, Jane.
I thought it was. I thought
Jane,
the
Jane,
homeowner said yes.
Would you like to move to amend your motion to include the condition that it be a solid fence?
Yes, I would like to move to include that amendment. Yes.
To be conditioned. Will someone second that?
Second.
Thank you, Katie. Is there discussion on the motion to amend to approve to include a condition of a solid fence? Any discussion?
No.
All in favor of the motion to amend, please raise your hand and I'll call out. I see all hands raised, including myself. Katie, is your hand raised? Thank you. All hands are raised. Everyone has voted in favor to amend the motion. So the motion as amended includes to approve it with the condition that it be a solid fence. And will someone second that that amended motion?
I'll second it, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, let's discuss the amended motion to approve with that condition. Thank you for correcting me, Jane. I appreciate that. Let's have discussion on that.
It's a very weird development.
Yes.
That they put it in there like that. So, I mean, you get what you get.
Yeah, I mean,
I think all the neighbors approved, did they? They can't wait to use the pool.
All right, let's bring it to vote. Sharon?
Yes.
Terry? Katie? And Jane?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That has passed unanimously. Number 9, we've already taken up. Number 10, 34 Arena Place. Attorney Willinger presented this for the Parleys. And it's to construct a second floor addition with attic above. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Terry, is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, discussion?
It's kind of amazing that people are ignorant about whether they need a permit or not, or move forward that way. Unfortunately. And
Which,
yeah.
they would have done it the right way. I mean,
I mean, our job is not to be punitive, but there are reasons to vote yes or no on both of this, around this.
I know I said I like when they bring under the FAR, and I like your comments that it could be brought under the FAR, but the reality was they've already roofed that. Because
you know what? I mean, I know what it takes to change the pitch, and it costs money, but I mean, that's just unfortunate, but I think it could be remedied, and then they wouldn't even need that. And because I don't even see an attic plan, it wasn't included, I'm just a little hesitant to let it go through without looking harder at that.
Yeah. And I mean, we probably would have given them some floor area because you have 5,000 out of a required 9,375 foot minimum on that.
Mm-hmm.
So probably would have cut them some leeway on that. My opinion, obviously the sideline setbacks are a factor of that small lot.
Right.
So that would have been the street line and the two sideline.
I have no issue with the side setbacks. It's the FAR that troubles me.
You're going to make them tear down the roof?
If this was a normal application, it wouldn't even be there yet, and I would have the same opinion.
I know, but we've had other requests like this before. We haven't been punitive.
That's when they start out saying this isn't punitive. I just think it could be remedied. They'd still get the living space that they want, and they can take it up with their builder as to whether it is, if they're out of pocket money. I mean, it is what it is.
I don't think it's that simple. And
what's not that simple? The construction
to take it up with your builder. I don't think it's that simple. You're going to leave them sitting there with the house undone.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to leave them in a dispute with the house undone, and the family's the ones that's going to pay.
Well, we don't know whether the builder who started is actually going to. We don't know that either.
We don't know a lot of things. We don't know a lot of things, but I just think we're looking at a lot with a family who's in a very tiny lot with this very small house, who probably doesn't have a lot of means to start going into a battle with a builder or a former builder.
I don't think that's our.
Well, but you're bringing it up. So.
Any other discussion? Katie, Terry, have anything to add?
Nada.
Let's bring it to a vote. Sharon?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Jane? Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear Jane.
What?
Jane said no.
I said no.
Oh, okay, thank you.
But I will comment, I don't like the extent of building going forward without getting the proper approval. Any builder should know. And if I was the homeowners, I wouldn't keep that builder on. But that's just my opinion as a chairman of a board in town. And I'm very unhappy with a builder that does that to our town, puts our zoning department, our building department, looking like they did something wrong when it wasn't them.
Can I ask a question of Matt? I know we've had things like this where builders do things they're not supposed to, and do they get blacklisted, or are they not allowed to pull permits in town any longer with things like this, or do you do nothing?
That is not my jurisdiction. My job would be to stop them and point them in the right direction if I found out, in which case this is what's happened. Yeah. The building department has a little bit more teeth in a matter of that in regard to not necessarily blacklisting, but at least making a phone call to consumer protection if they wanted to, or at least having a conversation with the person in light of. I mean, it's not something that hasn't happened in the past. It's just in regard to Mr. Chairman's comments of coming before the commission, you don't see it as frequently as I would see it, because it does happen, and it happens a lot.
Yeah. And is it just ignorance, or is it just trying to skirt the law, or you can't even comment?
I am not going to voice an opinion on that.
Okay, fine.
Smart response, Mr. Decker. Okay, next item, number 11, and Brian, you're sitting for Jane on this. 137 Charm Village Drive, the petition of the Linskins for a variance. It's to construct a one-story addition, second floor dormer. We had some opposition and in favor emails, which we considered. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Brian, you moved? And is there a second? Is there a second?
Sharon
Yes,
seconds.
Brady.
Sharon just beat you, Katie, sorry.
Sorry, Kate.
All right. I'm okay with that.
All right, discussion.
I wasn't really clear why there was a negative. I didn't see the letter, but it just sounded they were worried about too many construction trucks.
Yeah, that was a gist.
It's, they're not going to be there forever.
Yes, and leave.
I mean, unless those people are moving, unless the builder's moving in, that's a temporary situation, right?
Yeah. And you know, and this is an extremely interesting lot. If when looking at the plans, looking at the property itself, you know, you're on that circle and you're trying to deal with how to build that, you know, with the back end of the house. So what was it? The shape of the lot makes it very difficult. Let's bring it to a vote. Sharon?
Yes.
Terry? Yes, that's a yes from Terry. Katie?
Yes.
Yes.
Brian?
Yeah.
Yes from me. Number 12 was continued. Number 13, 220 Carter Henry Drive. And that's a petition to establish fitness use and a request for reduction in parking requirements from 21 to 15. Attorney Fitzpatrick presented that. Entertain a motion to approve.
Jane seconds.
Terry, Jane seconded. Terry moved. Jane seconded. Thank you. Discussion? I mean, we saw that he's going to go after, I mean, quite frankly, with these entities, if you're not going to have parking, if it's needed, you're not going to survive. Right? And I would imagine, you know, no different than a coffee shop that's near the train station. You're catering to the commuters who are already paying for parking there. So,
Yeah.
you know, and maybe some other people that work downtown or something like that, but I think probably.
When they lease parking spaces from the town for their employees, is that like a yearly lease that automatically rolls over? Do they have to apply every year, or how does that work?
I don't know. I think it is a yearly lease, but you know, there's incentive to make sure that they have the spaces available for the employees, especially from economic development. They want to make sure that people can park and get their employees down there.
Right. Okay, I'm just curious how that works.
I mean, it's big incentive for the town to make sure
Moneymaker.
that there's parking down there for the employees to provide the services. Bring it
I
to
just
a
wondered,
vote.
I mean, they have a letter saying, I'm so sorry, they have a letter saying that that those spaces are available.
Oh, yeah, Mark Barnhart, it was in it was an email. We got that from Matt.
Right, which that's important, other than people just,
That's
oh,
very
yeah,
important.
we're going to rent something. Yeah.
It's very important. Or like what we've done in the past, Jane, is we've seen when it's not downtown, and Attorney Fitzpatrick is involved in that. Attorney Fallon has been involved in that, where they submit an actual agreement between the two different entities, so two private, you know. Okay. Here, we'll share space. Yeah, that's an important consideration.
Thank you.
So that we'll bring it to a vote. Sharon?
Yes.
Terry? Katie?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
And yes, for me, that's unanimous. Thank you again for putting up with the snafus, and we'll reconvene and hopefully we'll be good in
I'm
a
sorry.
month or two.
I have a question. I'm from Tesla, actually. Am I supposed to present for 1170 Hillside Road, the solar roof? It is on the agenda.
That's for HDC, and you need to be on the WebEx 1. I would reach out to Adam Cliver, and he'll give you instructions for that.
Oh, so I was on the wrong one? Okay.
Sorry.
So which one should I?
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
I'm sorry, which one should I receive? Should I go
Call Adam Cliver.
Goodbye. Which number? I'm sorry, which number should I call?
Adam Cliver, he's the chairman of the HDC.
Can you just, Adam said that it was on this one.
Yeah, it's on WebEx 1. You need to contact him with the sign-in information.
Okay, how do I get the WebEx one?
So you need to contact Adam Cliver because I'm signing off on this meeting now.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.